And here's the technical explanation of the notice of charge. Now, the notice of charge is going to come out. It's going to look like this. All right. On that notice of charge, it'll have a number. That's your case number. It'll have the match details, match venue, etc. It will say name, and it'll name your club here. And you will see here that it's a notice of charge and that the club, being the member, is required to do the following things. So first of all, provide all of this and any additional documentation to all of the people who are named parties, as well as people who could be of benefit to the named parties. For example, the coach, the manager, or other eyewitnesses. Ensure that all named parties have this, understand what the process is, preferably have this video, have the opportunity to ask questions, and most importantly, to read the report. I'll show you where that is. The referee's report will be included here, right? So all documents will be here. And the witness statement that you provide, there's details here as to what's required. In other words, your name, your football ID, jersey number, club, date, all of those things are useful, together with the ground that you played on, etc. And then just a brief explanation of what happened. So here will be the documents that have been submitted to the association. Those documents and the verbiage in those documents allege some charges. Those charges, so that you can quickly find those charges, right, will be detailed here on page 2. And it will say name, surname, ID, number, whatever the charges are that apply to the evidence that's been provided. Now, they're alleged. I'm not saying that you definitely did it. You have your contribution to make, and there are processes that will be followed. But there are the charges, and on the back page, here are the documents. Of course, they're not in here because it just says the word documents. So we go back to the front. We're under the heading ensure. So the club's responsibilities provide all the documentation and then ensure that all the known parties have it, have read it, have understood it, and provide statements back to the club, which will come back to the association. We'll talk about that in a moment. Obtain all charged parties' testimonies and statements in the required format as has been described, and then inform all charged parties you have a right to natural justice. It's a hearing. It's so that you can be heard, so that the panel can ask you questions. Who's on the panel? A panel of peers. There's 21 panel members that come from all the different clubs. Your club may have people, but not on the panel that you're on, right? And there will be a hearing chair, and then there will be a match official to help interpret the law, and then there will be 2 or 3 other panel members, typically 2. And they're going to run through a process, yeah? So inform the charged parties, confirm that all the named parties will be attending the hearing, yeah, that you'll be going to the hearing, and who from the club is going from the hearing, and also how you're going to plead, as in guilty or not guilty. If there's only one charge, that's fairly clear. You mentioned the one charge. If there's 2 charges, M11, guilty, not guilty, M27, guilty, not guilty. And then if there's a team misconduct charge, then we need to understand how the team is also pleading in this matter. And then submit one email with all of the documentation mentioning this case number. It's a notice of response to a notice of charge, that number, and all the evidence in one pack. So what does that report look like? All right, that is the notice of charge. Yep. Your notice of response will be after you've read the documents. This is a printout of the grievance and disciplinary regulations. At the back of the GDR is a table of contents labelled Schedule 3, Table of Offences. And in there is every offence that the GDR regulates. And if what you have been described as alleged to have done matches a criteria in here, a description in the offence description, then there will be some guidelines here it'll then mention whether it's a first or a second and subsequent, and it'll mention the minimum and the maximum suspensions. And somewhere in that range, your club will argue for the minimum, all right? That will be the suspension if found guilty. And if it's 3 charges or 4 charges, it may be concurrently served rather than accumulated. Okay? That's the table of offences. Your club will submit, and there is a guide, a notice of response. And it says here, it's a notice of response. It says the date of submitting. Everything in green is guidelines for you, and everything in yellow, you swap what's in here for your details. All right? But this is a guide. You can literally pick this up, use it as a guide, edit it, and send it back. So the first thing is to label this correctly. Notice of charge 25, well, it'll be 26, right? And then the number here, and then the club details, the game, right? Instructions to help you is the green highlight. Says the attached correspondence is being provided by us to Northwest Sydney Football. So it's your club's submission, and it includes your statements and your evidence, all right? And please understand that for the avoidance of doubt, a person making a false statement to a tribunal would be in breach of 12.16, and such a breach may lead to separate charges. So let's just make sure that the evidence is exactly correct as you remember it, all right? You will need to specifically identify participants if that was requested, and you'll need to include in there who the person is, jersey number, all that sort of stuff, all right? But here is your notice of response. We have investigated the full details of the notice of charge with the attachment and the reports, yeah? And here is our findings as a club. Details of our club's investigations and action taken by our club already. So our investigation included, whatever that included, and as a club, we have whatever you've done. This as a guide says we've made it very clear this behaviour is unacceptable. In the future we expect, whatever it is. So that is the club's investigation and what the club has done as a consequence of this event. We confirm that name, whoever it is, was informed, right, by email at the time and date. And we confirm that a committee member has gone through a process, explained what a GPT hearing is, explained what the evidence is, possibly provided this document, this video for you, right? And then explained what will occur. Here, from the club, is a clear summary of how each of all charge parties will be pleading. So, name, spectator, player, coach, whatever, whomever you are, right? And then your identification, and then which charge it is and what you're pleading. So if there are 3 charges you've been charged with, it's which plea you are entering for each of those charges. That's section 4. If charged, here is a summary of the team or the club. That's at number 5. Number 6, here are the attendees who will be present at the hearing. So it's each of the charged parties, and then a coach, manager, representative, if they're coming, and if in actual fact there's a team misconduct charge, they are required to attend. The charge participants and the committee representatives' name and role. The committee must be represented at the hearing. And then we are including at item 7 evidentiary statements. So this is the summary of the evidentiary statements, and this is the summary if we're including coach, managers and other officials, yeah? And then we are submitting this notice of response to a notice of charge with each of those items, with all of the statements. And each statement will be attached, and it will be saved as the notice of response to notice of charge number, your number, and then witness statement, and then whatever the relevant details are of that person's role in this activity. So that is how you prepare a notice of response to a notice of charge. Okay? And there's other details in the PowerPoint. Cheers.